If you've ever wondered what happens when humanity meets something the rest of the galaxy calls Extinction Incarnate, then settle in, because this is a story you're not going to forget. Before we dive into the chaos, though, don't forget to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and of course subscribe if you want more tales where humanity does the impossible. Now let's begin. The galaxy's oldest civilization spoke of it only in hushed tones. It was not a legend, not a myth, but a shadow stamped into history across dozens of dead worlds. They called it Extinction Incarnate. Ships that tried to cage it vanished. Colonies where it appeared burned within days. Even empires that had ruled unchallenged for millennia treated its memory as a forbidden subject. It was not a predator, not a beast. It was inevitability. And tonight, the Elder Council gathered in emergency convocation, because the signals had returned. The chamber was older than most star systems, carved from a planet's heart and wrapped in ceremonial light. Holographic figures of the ruling races shimmered over obsidian stone. The Ilari with their translucent wings spoke first. It stirs again. The patterns are exact. If we delay, another sector will fall. The Draven chieftains bristled, their plated hides clicking against ceremonial armor. Then unleash our fleets. Burn the soil where it walks. The Koros archivists hissed in unison, pale faces etched with fear. We tried before. Whole armadas vanished into its shadow. To face it is folly. To ignore it is death. They argued, voices rising like tides of panic. Every elder race had a reason to fear because each of them had once lost cities, ships, or entire legions to it. At last, the council speaker slammed his staff down, silencing them. It has been dormant for centuries. But the beacon is clear. Extinction Incarnate walks once more. His gaze swept the chamber, heavy with finality. Containment Protocol Alpha is invoked. No vessel, no species may approach the coordinates. Evacuation will be enforced. No one in that chamber expected humans to ignore the order. On the frontier world of Durant 4, Captain Elias Ward adjusted the strap of his pack and exhaled at the rising sun. He was broad-shouldered but carried himself with quiet precision, the kind of man who thought twice before drawing a weapon. Years in the Terran Navy had carved discipline into his bones, but his eyes, steel gray, calm as oceans before a storm, betrayed curiosity rather than fear. "You're sure about this?" Dr. Marcus Hale asked as he stumbled down the ramp of their shuttle, clutching a scanner in one hand and half a ration bar in the other. Marcus was leaner, a bundle of restless energy in a weather-worn coat, his hair perpetually untidy as if adventure itself had mussed it. His humor had gotten him through close calls before, though Elias often suspected it was bravado hiding razor intellect. Elias tightened his boots, scanning the horizon where alien forests tangled into mist. "The council says we should evacuate. That makes me think we should do the opposite." Marcus snorted. "That's because they don't know how to do anything without a proclamation. Besides, you saw the reports. Locals swear something's been stalking the ridges. Animals vanish. Hunters don't come back. Sounds like every frontier planet I've ever been to." Elias slung his rifle. "But this one feels different." As if on cue, a gust of wind swept across the plateau, carrying a sound almost like a growl buried deep in the storm. Marcus pretended not to hear it, eyes glued to his scanner. "Council calls it a death sentence. But me? I think it's just a new data set. Imagine it, Elias. A predator they fear across half the galaxy. If we catalog it, study it, we die for curiosity. Or," Marcus countered, grinning crookedly, "we find out it's not what they think." Their comm unit crackled. A council overseer, voice dripping with disdain, cut through static. "Terrans, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. Do not interfere. This is not your concern." Elias tapped the comm off without answering. The silence after was heavy. Marcus raised a brow. "Diplomatic. They treat us like children," Elias said evenly. "But if something threatens this colony, we'll face it first. Not them." They trekked toward the forests, terrain crunching beneath their boots. Durant 4 was alive with strange sounds, clicking insects the size of fists, vines that shifted as though breathing, shadows where no sun reached. The deeper they went, the stronger the sense that eyes followed them. Villagers along the ridge had already given warnings. A woman with weathered hands had whispered, "It does not eat. It chooses." Another claimed she'd seen it move between trees like liquid darkness. Marcus had laughed at the tales, scribbling notes, but Elias had noticed the tremor in their voices. These were not stories meant to frighten children. They were confessions of the doomed. Hours passed. Evidence grew undeniable. A carcass lay half buried in roots, bones stripped of flesh with surgical precision. Claw marks gouged stone as if it were soft clay. The air itself seemed heavier, electric with tension. Elias crouched, fingers brushing the soil. Fresh tracks. Too large for any catalogued species. The ground trembled faintly, like a distant heartbeat. He straightened, rifle loose but ready. Marcus's voice dropped. It's close, isn't it? Elias's gaze scanned the shadows. Close enough. Above them, unseen, council observation drones whirred, broadcasting every second back to the elder chamber. The alien leaders leaned forward, horrified anticipation twisting their features. They will die now, one whispered. Extinction Incarnate leaves no survivors. The forest grew unnaturally quiet. No birds. No insects. Just breath and silence. Marcus licked his lips nervously. If this thing is as bad as they say, maybe we should. A shape moved. Fast. Silent. Wrong. At the treeline, two eyes ignited like molten coals, staring down at them through shifting leaves. The figure behind them was massive, hunched yet graceful, armor like hide glistening as if forged from night itself. Claws long enough to carve hulls flexed once, sinking into bark. The air grew thick with pressure, every instinct screaming to run. Marcus froze. That's it. Elias didn't move. His finger hovered near the trigger but didn't pull. His voice was calm. Hold steady. The beast stepped forward, soundless despite its size, a predator distilled into perfection. Its maw opened, revealing teeth designed for nothing but ruin. And yet, it did not strike. Instead, it tilted its massive head, studying them the way a wolf might regard something unfamiliar. The glow of its eyes softened, not with mercy but with curiosity. Marcus's scanner shook in his hand. Elias, it's looking at us. Elias's heart hammered, but he kept his voice level. Maybe it's deciding. From orbit, the council chamber erupted in panic. It recognizes prey, one cried. End transmission before. But the feed continued. The beast stepped closer, the earth quivering under its weight, until Elias could feel its breath wash across his face. Then, astonishingly, it lowered itself to the ground, massive frame folding like a mountain settling. Its head brushed the soil before Elias's boots as if waiting. Marcus blinked, mouth hanging open. Did it just bow? The silence stretched, charged with disbelief. Elias lowered his weapon. Slowly, deliberately, he reached out one gloved hand. The beast's skin was rough, ridged like stone, and hot with a pulse that vibrated his bones. It didn't lash out. It rumbled, a deep, resonant sound that shook the forest, but there was no anger in it. It was almost content. From the council chamber came a collective gasp. Elder races who had seen it massacre fleets were now forced to witness what should have been impossible. Humanity standing unscathed before extinction itself. Marcus finally broke into a wild, incredulous laugh. Extinction Incarnate? You're telling me this is their apocalypse? Elias, it's practically a dog. The beast's glowing eyes fixed on Marcus. For a heartbeat, silence stretched so taut that even the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then the massive creature exhaled, warm air swirling like a sigh, and lowered its head farther into the dirt, almost as if submitting. Elias's lips pressed into a thin line, mind racing. This wasn't submission. It was choice. From orbit, the council speaker whispered the words that sealed the galaxy's dread. If it bows to them, then humanity has become the greatest threat of all. The forest trembled as the beast's immense body settled beside Elias, its bulk curling protectively near his boots like a guardian waiting for command. Marcus's laughter trailed off into stunned silence. Elias exhaled, steady but shaken. His words were quiet, more to himself than to anyone else. This changes everything. And high above, the council prepared for war. The beast's massive body curved against the earth like a wall of armored flesh. Its steady breathing shook the soil, each exhalation carrying the heat of a forge. Elias stood unmoving, one hand still resting against the creature's hide. The council might have called it a harbinger of extinction, but here it was, sprawled across the ground like a guardian. Marcus paced in disbelief, his scanner flickering with incomprehensible readings. Elias, do you see this? It's radiating energy levels off the charts, biosignatures unlike anything I've ever cataloged, and yet it's lying there. Like it's waiting for us. Or testing us, Elias murmured. His eyes never left the predator's gaze, molten embers that reflected a kind of ancient patience. He tightened his grip on his rifle. Be careful. This could change in an instant. Marcus crouched near its head, wide grin betraying more excitement than caution. The galaxy calls this thing the end of civilizations, but you scratch its chin and it practically purrs. Extinction Incarnate, Elias. Extinction Incarnate. And it likes you. Above them, unseen but ever watching, the council drones transmitted everything. Elder leaders leaned forward in horrified fascination. The Ilari queen clutched her crystal staff. No. This cannot be. It is death embodied. It cannot be tamed. The Draven commander snarled. Look at it. Submitting to humans? If they bend it to their will, then humanity is the true calamity. In the shadows of the council chamber, paranoia brewed. The fear was no longer of the beast, but of those who stood beside it. On the ground, Elias eased back a step. The predator's head lifted, following him like a hound unwilling to let its chosen master stray too far. He raised an eyebrow. Marcus, I don't think it plans to leave us. That, Marcus replied, is the best news I've heard all month. He reached out and, with reckless bravado, pressed a hand against the predator's snout. The rumble that emerged vibrated through his chest. Not a growl. A sound closer to satisfaction. Elias shook his head. You're insane. I'm a scientist, Marcus countered. And I just discovered the most dangerous creature in the galaxy is ticklish. A sound like thunder rolled through the trees. Not from the beast, this time from beyond. The forest shuddered as branches cracked and smaller animals fled. The predator rose in an instant, towering high above them, posture shifting from calm to alert. Its molten gaze turned not on the humans but outward toward the treeline. Elias raised his weapon, pulse steady. We're not alone. From the mist emerged shapes, sleek machines, council enforcer drones armed with plasma lances, their optics glowing with surgical precision. They spread in a semicircle, weapons humming to life. A mechanical voice echoed, human presence unauthorized. Withdraw immediately. Target designated Extinction Incarnate will be neutralized. Marcus's stomach dropped. They followed us. Elias cursed under his breath. Of course they did. The predator rumbled low, the sound primal enough to curdle the air. It shifted, interposing its massive body between the humans and the machines, claws digging into the earth. When the first drone fired, a spear of light cracked across the clearing. The beast moved faster than sight. One swipe shattered the drone into fragments. The others unleashed a barrage, but their beams ricocheted off armored hide. The predator lunged, obliterating another machine with a single bite, its roar scattering birds from miles around. Elias and Marcus dove for cover as the battle raged. Marcus's voice shook with a mix of awe and terror. It's protecting us. Elias, it's actually protecting us. Council chambers erupted in chaos as the feed showed their machines reduced to scrap. It allies with them, the Koros archivist screeched. This cannot be coincidence. The speaker slammed his staff down. Destroy the humans before they spread this contagion of influence. Humanity must not be allowed to command the Incarnate. But down on Durant 4, the humans were not commanding anything. The predator fought with its own will, fury unleashed against the council's intrusion. When the last drone fell in molten ruin, the clearing grew quiet once more. The beast turned back to Elias and Marcus, chest heaving with restrained violence. And then, unbelievably, it lowered itself again, curling its body protectively around them like a fortress of living shadow. Elias's pulse thundered in his ears. He lowered his weapon slowly. It chose. Marcus swallowed hard, laughter trembling on his lips, more from nerves than humor. Well, if I die today, at least I'll die knowing humanity just adopted the galaxy's apocalypse. The predator's eyes softened at the sound of Marcus's voice, a flicker of recognition as if cataloging friend from foe. Elias took a step closer, steadying his breath. You hear me? He asked quietly. You're not our weapon. You're not their monster. You're something else. The beast rumbled, lowering its head once more. Marcus reached out, hand shaking only slightly now, and patted the armored snout. Elias, I swear it's begging for a name. That's the last thing it needs, Elias muttered. Wrong, Marcus said firmly. Names matter. Names mean belonging. He tilted his head thoughtfully. What about Nyx? The predator blinked, unblinking glow fixed on Marcus. The forest held its breath. Then, like a mountain shifting, it released a low, resonant sound, not anger but approval. Elias shook his head. You've just named Extinction itself. Correction, Marcus grinned. I just named our new pet. The moment was absurd, surreal, and yet Elias couldn't shake the feeling that Marcus was right. Somewhere in the depths of those ember-lit eyes, There was intelligence, calculating, deciding. This was no simple beast. This was a mod. Above them, hidden satellites relayed every word, every gesture, every impossible moment. Across the Council's territories, broadcasts leaked despite desperate attempts at censorship. Billions watched as humans treated their apocalypse like a companion animal. Whispers rose across 1,000 worlds. If humans could befriend death itself, what else might they do? On Durant 4, night descended. Stars bled through the canopy. Elias and Marcus built a small fire, the predator's bulk looming just beyond the glow. Its eyes remained half open, ever watchful, while its body coiled protectively around their camp. Marcus poked the fire with a stick, voice low. "Do you think the Council will let this go?" Elias stared into the flames. "No. They'll come harder. They'll see this as proof." Proof of what? That humanity isn't afraid of the dark. The predator stirred, shifting closer, its massive head lowering until it rested near Elias's boots. The ground vibrated with each steady breath. Elias looked down at the creature, the galaxy's nightmare, now dozing like a colossal guardian dog. For the first time in hours, he allowed his rifle to rest at his side. Marcus leaned back, gazing at the stars. "You realize, don't you, that we're not just in trouble, we're rewriting galactic history?" Elias didn't answer, but he felt the truth of it settle like weight on his chest. The Council feared what this meant. The Predator had chosen them. And that choice might ignite a fire that would burn across the stars. The forest remained still, fire crackling, Predator purring faintly in sleep. For now they had peace. But Elias knew it wouldn't last. War was coming, not because of the beast at their side but because of what humanity had shown the galaxy it could do. The Council chamber was a storm of fear disguised as order. Holographic projections flickered above the obsidian floor, showing the impossible. Humans resting by a fire while the creature that had ended empires slumbered beside them. The speaker's voice cracked through the uproar. "This is not coexistence. This is corruption. If humanity spreads this influence, if they convince it to follow their commands, the balance of our galaxy ends." The Ilari Queen trembled, wings quivering. "We cannot allow them to survive. Extinction Incarnate was beyond us all, and yet it has lowered itself to them. What if their kind can breed loyalty into it? What if every human world shelters one?" The Draven general slammed his clawed fist into the table. "Then we will erase them both. Human colonies, fleets, their cradle world if necessary. Better ashes than a galaxy ruled by beasts and their Terran handlers." A vote was cast in fearful haste. The decision was unanimous. Humanity was to be contained, their frontier colony on Durant 4 purged. Fleets mobilized in silence, their orders clear. Eliminate the humans before their influence spread. On the surface, Elias and Marcus were unaware of the armada gathering above the stars. They woke to the Predator's steady rumbling, a sound that seemed less like menace and more like reassurance. Morning light spilled across the clearing, illuminating scars across its armor-like hide, old wounds healed with time but still etched into its body like history written in flesh. Marcus crouched near its side, running a hand along one scar. "Look at this. It survived battles that should have vaporized it. Claws, plasma burns, something heavy enough to crack even this hide. And yet it's still here. I think this thing's lived longer than some civilizations." Elias adjusted his rifle and scanned the treeline. "And now it's sitting here with us." "It's more than sitting," Marcus said. He leaned close, lowering his voice like he was whispering to a confidant. "It understands. It's not instinct keeping it here, it's choice. You realize what that means?" Elias's expression hardened. "It means the Council's going to see it as proof that humans are dangerous." A faint beeping broke their exchange. Elias tapped his wrist console, frowning as encrypted transmissions filtered through. A Terran relay buoy left in orbit months ago had intercepted fragments of Council chatter. The words chilled him. Purge, containment, eradication. He rose sharply. "They're coming." Marcus blinked. "Coming? Who?" "The Council. With fleets." Elias's jaw tightened. "They're not afraid of this thing anymore. They're afraid of us." As if sensing the tension, the Predator stirred. It rose to its full height, towering above them, amber eyes scanning the horizon. It released a low rumble that set Marcus's bones vibrating. "You feel that?" Marcus asked quietly. Elias nodded. "It feels what we feel. Threats close." The day stretched into unease. Villagers from the ridge came cautiously to see the beast, carrying offerings of food and tokens carved from bone. Their voices trembled, but when they saw the predator lying calmly beside Elias and Marcus, their fear bent into reverence. One old hunter bowed low, whispering in awe, "It chose you. Then perhaps it chose us too." Elias tried to wave them away, warning them of danger, but word was already spreading. What the council tried to contain could not be silenced. By evening, entire settlements were whispering that the humans had befriended the beast of nightmares, that perhaps humanity could protect them where the council never had. That night, when the first shadows of ships fell across the sky, panic rippled through the colony. Families fled into the forests, while others gathered weapons in futility. Marcus watched streaks of fire trail through the atmosphere. "Drop pods," he muttered. "They're sending soldiers." Elias checked his rifle and turned toward the predator. "If they come for us, it'll fight. And if it fights, the council will use that as proof to burn this entire world." Marcus stared at him. "So what do we do? Tell it to hold back? Do you think it even understands restraint?" The predator's gaze met Elias's. The weight of intelligence lingered there, as if the beast itself wrestled with the same question. The first wave of enforcers descended in precision formations, armored soldiers fanning out through the colony with weapons primed. Their voices blared through amplifiers. "By order of the Elder Council, all humans are to submit to immediate relocation. Failure to comply will result in termination." Villagers screamed as troops fired warning shots. Resistance was crushed with efficient brutality. Fires lit the night. Elias gritted his teeth and looked at Marcus. "We can't let this become a massacre." Marcus grabbed his shoulder. "And what about Nyx? If it steps in, it'll slaughter them. Or save them," Elias said. But once the galaxy sees that, he let the thought die because they both knew what it meant. Humanity would be declared irredeemable. A scream cut through the night. A soldier raised his weapon at a child clutching her mother's hand. Before Elias could move, the predator did. Nyx erupted from the shadows like living thunder. It struck with terrifying precision, claws shearing through weapons but sparing flesh. Soldiers scattered, their disciplined lines breaking into chaos as the monster of their legends towered over them. Plasma bolts scorched its hide, but it pressed forward unfazed, tearing apart armored carriers and hurling wreckage aside as though swatting flies. Elias shouted into the comms. "Stand down. It doesn't want to kill you." But the message fell on deaf ears. Soldiers fired in blind panic, and each strike only roused the predator's fury. It roared, the sound shaking the ground, scattering troops in every direction. Yet for all its fury, Elias noticed something critical. It was not slaughtering. Every swipe was measured. Weapons shattered, armor crumpled, but bodies were tossed aside alive. Marcus's eyes widened. "It's holding back." Elias realized the truth at the same moment. It's protecting them without destroying them. Above, Council fleet commanders received the feed, their panic doubling. "Look, it shields them. It obeys them." The speaker's voice was heavy with dread. "Not obedience. Alignment. It chooses to stand with humanity. That is worse." As night bled toward dawn, the last of the enforcers retreated, dragging the wounded. Their mission failed. Fires smoldered in the colony, but the villagers lived. And there in the ashes, the predator crouched protectively beside Elias and Marcus, glowing eyes watchful, body coiled for another fight. Marcus dropped to the ground, exhaustion and adrenaline tangling his words. "Do you understand what just happened? It didn't kill them. It could have wiped them out without effort. It chose restraint. Elias, it's not extinction at all. It's justice." Elias placed a hand on the beast's hide, feeling the steady pulse beneath. His voice was quiet but firm. "And now the whole galaxy has seen it. They won't believe what it really is. They'll only believe what they fear, that humanity commands it." The predator exhaled, warm breath rushing across Elias like a furnace sigh. He looked into its emberlit eyes and saw not a beast, but a choice echoing in silence. Humanity had been marked. Whether as allies of doom or heralds of something new, the galaxy would never see them the same again. High above, the fleets aligned for another strike, engines burning as the council prepared to escalate. And for the first time, Elias allowed himself to feel the weight of inevitability pressing down. War was no longer a possibility. It was a certainty. Darius never believed silence could roar louder than a battlefield. Yet here, aboard the fractured council station, the absence of alarms, voices, or gunfire felt deafening. The council chamber lay gutted, walls buckled outward as if something immense had strained to break free. Fragments of shattered alloy glittered under emergency lights like frozen lightning. His rifle sagged in his grip, but his eyes refused to blink. He wasn't afraid to admit it. He'd seen war, he'd seen men consumed by void fire, but nothing felt as wrong as this emptiness. Jalen knelt at the heart of the wreckage, fingers brushing a smear of blackened ichor across the marble dais where elders once dictated the laws of empires. It bled here, he muttered, voice tight. The predator bled here. His hand trembled before he clenched it into a fist, as though ashamed the tremor existed at all. Or something bled fighting it, Darius countered, though the theory gave him no comfort. The predator, the Extinction Incarnate, had always been a phantom of myth, whispered in fractured testimonies, spoken like a curse by those who lived to remember entire species erased. It had no rival, no hunter, no leash. And yet, Jalen's words struck deeper than intended. If it bled, it could be harmed. If harmed, perhaps it could be destroyed. The silence broke. A sound like a throat cleared by stone echoed through the chamber. Darius's head snapped up. In the shadows beyond the dais, something moved. A figure hunched, massive yet deliberate, its movements both graceful and horrifying in their inevitability. It unfurled, not entirely quadrupedal nor bipedal, its silhouette a contradiction, like reality itself bent around its presence. Jalen's breath caught. Extinction Incarnate. His voice was not a whisper but a prayer turned curse. The creature stepped into fractured light. Its eyes glowed amber, not with rage but with something more unsettling, recognition. It regarded them as if they weren't prey but irrelevant. Its gaze slid away, dismissing them as casually as a human dismisses insects buzzing against glass. Darius's instincts screamed to fire, but Jalen raised a hand firm. Wait. The predator lowered its head to the marble where ichor still glistened. Its tongue, barbed and glistening, dragged across the surface. Then it turned toward a broken arch, where beyond lay the station's hangar. It was leaving. Jalen whispered, "It doesn't see us as enemies." Darius hissed back, "It doesn't see us at all. They should have let it pass." Every survival instinct urged retreat, to remain unnoticed. But Jalen rose to his full height, his boots crunching against rubble, and called after it. "Wait." The predator froze. Slowly, impossibly slowly, it turned. For a heartbeat, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The creature regarded Jalen, and the weight of its attention was crushing. Darius saw his friend's body stiffen, as if pinned by invisible talons. His chest heaved, but he didn't falter. Jalen stood there, facing what had ended civilizations, his jaw set. "Why are you here?" Jalen demanded, his voice stronger than Darius imagined possible. "What do you want from us?" The predator did not speak, but something stirred in Darius's mind. A flood of impressions, cold void, endless hunger, the scream of stars dying. He staggered, clutching his head as the visions receded. The predator had answered. Not with words, but with memory, with essence. Its very being was communication. Jalen gasped, stumbling as if struck by the same wave. "It's searching." He panted, clutching his chest. "It hunts, but not us. Something else." Darius barked, "And that's supposed to make me feel better?" His weapon shook in his grip. "If it's not here for us, then who?" The chamber shuddered. A low vibration built from the walls themselves, as if the station groaned beneath the weight of an unseen storm. Lights flickered, then steadied, bathing the scene in sterile glow. The predator tilted its head, and for the first time it made a sound. A low, guttural growl, not of threat but warning. It stepped past them toward the hangar arch. "Darius?" Jalen's tone was no longer steady. It was reverent and frightened. "I don't think the council was its enemy. I think it was theirs." He gestured toward the ceiling, toward the void beyond. The vibration sharpened into a siren. External breach alarms wailed. The predator's amber eyes flared. It sprinted into the hangar with terrifying grace, a shadow streaking through twisted steel. Darius and Jalen bolted after it, lungs burning, hearts racing. They emerged into the cavernous hangar, and froze. Outside the station, ships blotted the stars. Sleek, obsidian hulls shaped like blades, each larger than dreadnoughts, moving with predatory intent. Their arrival was silent but suffocating, an invasion not of numbers but inevitability. These were no council fleets. These were something else, older, darker. Jalen's throat tightened. "They've come for it." The predator stood at the hangar's edge, framed by starlight, and for once, it looked small against the immensity gathering beyond. But there was no fear in its posture. Only certainty. Darius felt the truth sink into his bones. The galaxy's nightmare was not the ultimate predator. It was prey. And whatever hunted it, had just arrived. The hangar bay trembled as the obsidian ships lit with energy, casting light across the Predator's frame. Its eyes flicked back to Jalen and Darius, locking them in place. For the briefest second they felt something wholly alien yet piercingly clear. A plea. Not for mercy, not for survival. For alliance. The Predator leapt into the void, a streak of shadow against the stars, as the first obsidian vessel opened its maw and loosed a beam that carved space itself apart. Jalen staggered, his pulse a hammer in his ears. Darius, this isn't extinction. This is war. And in that moment, they understood the galaxy had never truly feared the right enemy. The final act begins at the edge of chaos. The Council's fleets had been scattered, the elder races reduced to whispers of their former arrogance, but the true storm was only now unfolding. Across the void, the last gathering of ships hung in tense formation. Millions of beings watched through transmitted feeds, hoping to witness either humanity's defeat or its terrifying ascension. On the flagship's observation deck, Marcus stood with arms folded, the reflection of 1,000 stars shimmering in his eyes. His voice was steady, but beneath it pulsed the weight of decisions that could shape epochs. "This is it," he murmured, "no second chances." Beside him, Adrian adjusted the gauntlet on his forearm. He looked worn, bloodied from days of battle, yet the fire in his gaze had not dimmed. "We started this," he said, "we'll end it. Together." And then there was the creature, once called Extinction Incarnate, the terror that haunted Council records for millennia. Now it lay at Marcus's side, coiled like a mountain of living steel and shadow, its breathing a low thunder that rattled the deck plates. To the galaxy it was annihilation embodied, a predator with no equal. To Marcus it was something else entirely. His hand rested on its scaled hide with familiarity, the way a man might calm a restless hound before the hunt. "Easy, Shadowfang," he whispered, and the beast's burning eyes softened, focused entirely on him. Transmission channels exploded with outrage. Elder ambassadors shrieked accusations. "You cannot control it," cried the Ulthari emissary. "It will turn on you as it turned on us all. You are children playing with an extinction-level threat." Marcus let their words wash over him. He understood the fear. They had lived under its shadow for longer than humanity had walked upright. But fear had never stopped humanity before. Fear had always been the challenge that lit the fire. He leaned toward the comms, his tone cold as forged iron. "Maybe you never tried to understand it. Maybe you only saw a weapon to fear or destroy. We saw something else. Something you could never grasp. That's the difference between us." Adrian chuckled darkly, stepping forward so the feeds caught both men flanked by the Predator. "You called it Extinction Incarnate. We call it family." The words ignited the galaxy like fuel to flame. The broadcasts flooded with reactions, derision, awe, horror, and disbelief all woven into one deafening chorus. But the time for debate was past. The Council's remnant forces lunged forward, an armada of dreadnoughts and carriers converging to crush humanity's rebellion once and for all. The stars lit up with weapons fire, missiles carving through the void, beams of superheated plasma arcing like falling suns. Marcus gave the command. "Now." Shadowfang rose in a roar that reverberated through vacuum as if the universe itself obeyed its voice. Its massive form unfurled, wings spanning wide, body twisting with terrible grace. In an instant, it tore free of the ship's hold, launching into the black. Enemy vessels faltered as the beast cut through their ranks, ripping apart hulls as though they were parchment, its talons shearing armored plating, its maw a furnace of destructive energy. Ships that had terrified civilizations vanished in a heartbeat. But Marcus and Adrian were not idle. Humanity's fleets surged forward, ships built in hidden shipyards, captained by veterans hardened from centuries of struggle. They moved with unyielding precision, striking where the Council's formation wavered, exploiting every weakness. Adrian led a boarding assault, plunging into enemy vessels with fearless brutality, his squad cutting through resistance to disable critical systems. Marcus remained in command, his orders weaving the chaos into strategy, turning the tide battle by battle. And yet, the elder races did not crumble easily. They unleashed their final weapon, a colossal war engine forged in an age before even their decline. The Leviathan-class dreadform emerged from hyperspace, its bulk eclipsing moons, its presence radiating dread. It dwarfed even Shadowfang, an ancient monstrosity of machinery and malice designed to exterminate civilizations. The Council had hidden it, fearing even their own inability to control it, but desperation birthed recklessness. The galaxy held its breath. Shadowfang hovered before it, eyes blazing, wings beating against the void. For a heartbeat, Predator faced predator, extinction incarnate against the machine of annihilation. Marcus's voice cut through the silence. Adrian. We're not backing down. Adrian grinned, blood streaking his jaw, voice hoarse yet fierce. Wasn't planning on it. The clash erupted with apocalyptic force. Shadowfang lunged, jaws locking onto the Leviathan's armor, tearing chunks free while its talons raked across hull plating. The machine retaliated with beams that split space itself, searing Shadowfang's hide, shaking the Predator's massive frame. It howled but did not relent. Humanity's fleet swarmed the monster's flanks, hurling everything they had, missiles detonating across its armored spine. Inside the command deck, Marcus gripped the rail, refusing to flinch. Every strike against Shadowfang sent pain through him, a bond forged not by dominance but by kinship. He could feel its fury, its will to fight, its refusal to abandon the one species that had not feared it. He whispered words no one else could hear. Hold, my friend. Just hold. The battle stretched into eternity, a storm of fire and steel. Adrian, reckless as ever, led his team onto the Leviathan's hull itself, magnetized boots clanging against scorched plating. They cut their way through exposed seams, planting charges, carving into the heart of the machine. His voice crackled through comms. Marcus, 10 seconds. Keep it busy. Marcus answered without hesitation. Always. He reached out, pressing both palms against the glass, focusing every ounce of will into his bond with Shadowfang. The Predator roared in response, summoning every reserve of strength, tearing into the Leviathan with renewed ferocity. It was no longer just beast versus machine. It was trust, loyalty, and fury given form. The charges detonated. A chain of explosions ripped through the Leviathan's core, rupturing reactors, tearing its monstrous body apart in incandescent fury. For a moment, the void became brighter than suns, the shockwave rattling ships for light years. When the light faded, Shadowfang still hovered, battered and scarred but unbroken. The Leviathan was gone, reduced to drifting fragments. Humanity's fleets held the void, while the elder race's armada, leaderless and broken, scattered like dust before the storm. The galaxy fell into silence. On millions of worlds, beings stared at their feeds, unable to comprehend what they had witnessed. Extinction Incarnate had not destroyed humanity, it had fought beside them. Humanity had not cowered before the nightmare, they had embraced it. Marcus exhaled, his body trembling with exhaustion, but his voice carried unshakable conviction. It's over. Adrian's laughter rang across the comms, wild and victorious. We did it. We actually did it. On the observation deck, Shadowfang returned, massive form folding into the hold once more. It lowered its head, pressing its snout against Marcus's chest with surprising gentleness. Marcus leaned against it, his hand resting on its scarred hide. Not just a weapon, he whispered. Never just a weapon. The feeds were still open, the whole galaxy still watching. Marcus turned toward them one last time, his voice hard as stone. You called it Extinction Incarnate. You feared it. You hunted it. And now you've seen the truth. It chose us. It chose humanity. And if you ever threaten us again, remember this day. The image of man and beast standing side by side burned into the memory of every witness. It was more than victory. It was a proclamation. Humanity was no longer the newcomer fumbling in the shadows of elder empires. They were the species that befriended annihilation itself, and in doing so became something greater than the galaxy had ever known. Marcus's final words echoed like prophecy. The era of fear is over. The age of humanity begins. And in the silence that followed, Shadowfang let out a low rumble, a sound that was neither threat nor hunger but something far older, a promise etched into the fabric of the cosmos itself. The Predator had found its pack. The galaxy would never forget.